In this episode, learn how I used visualization to turn this photo into this.
Adorama TV presents Exploring Photography with Mark Wallace.
Hi everybody, welcome to this episode of Exploring Photography. I am coming to you from Kathmandu, Nepal. I am just above this city outside what they call the Monkey Temple. There are monkeys everywhere. You can't see them right here, but they're trying to take my camera a little bit earlier. But what I want to do is take a picture of the Kathmandu Valley behind me using a principle that Ansel Adams talked about, and that is pre-visualization. Now what he said was that when you're taking a photo, or making a photo more accurately, that you should look at the scene and visualize the end product. Think about taking the photo as creating a score to some music, and you capture all of the detail that you possibly can. And then in post-production, he meant in the darkroom, but we'll use Photoshop and Lightroom, you actually take that score and make the music. You play that score. And so what I'm going to do is I've pre-visualized what I want to do with this scene. And so I'm going to walk through everything I've set up on my camera to tell you how I'm going to capture the score so I can perform it later. Well, let's talk about the scene and what I have in my mind, what I want to do in the final product. When we look out here at this valley, we can see that the dynamic range is pretty extreme. We have really bright clouds and a really sort of dim valley below. And the colors aren't really contrasty and saturated. So I really don't think this is going to make a good color photo. So I'll probably convert this to black and white. And because of that, I want to get as much detail and as much of the dynamic range as possible. And so what I'm going to do is make sure that my camera is set for auto exposure bracketing. I'll take 3 exposures, and that way I can throw them into an HDR image if I need to. I'm not sure if I need to, but I'm going to make sure I capture that. So I've set my camera up to auto exposure bracket, 3 exposures plus and minus 1 stop. So I have that set up. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure everything is in focus. So I've set my lens to an aperture value of f8 because it's really sharp right in the middle of the aperture values, and I've set my focus to hyperfocal. And what that means is I can get as much in focus as possible. Now the other thing I want to do is make sure I have low noise, and so I've set my ISO value to an ISO of 200. And then the last thing I've done is to make sure I have no camera shake. I've used my tripod, I've got a cable release, and then I use live view to make sure that I don't have any of this fence or anything in the way of this photo. I think I'm probably going to crop the top and bottom off because with my big 21mm lens, I'm getting so much in the frame that there are some blue buildings toward the bottom of the frame and some other things that I think I need to crop out. So in my final image, what I think I'm going to do, what I'm planning on doing, is converting it to black and white, cropping it so it looks like a panorama, and then doing some HDR work to really bring out the blacks, the shadows, and the highlights and everything in between. Well, everything is set up, so I'm going to use my cable release to take this photo, and what it will do is take 3 images, so let's do that right now. Wham, 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 I've got my 3 images there. And now what we need to do is throw that into Lightroom and get to work. So let's do that right now. These are the 3 bracketed images that I shot. Now what I want to do is convert one of these to the image that I saw in my head, a high contrast black and white panorama. Now I shot 3 in case I needed to convert one of these, or convert all of these to an HDR image. But it looks like when I look at the histogram that I have enough information in this last image to do what I want. So let's go over to the Develop module, and I'll pop out this right panel here. And it looks on the histogram that it's a little bit underexposed, so I'm wondering where the problems are. So I'm going to hit the J key, and you can see that the blacks here in the bushes are a little bit underexposed, but that's okay because it works to our advantage up here in the clouds, and these bushes are going to be cropped out anyway. So I'm going to use this image. Now the first thing I want to do is correct some of the tonality problems, the global problems that we have. And also I'm going to fix this little dust speck right off the bat because it's bothering me. So I'm just going to get rid of that really quickly. Let's fix these clouds. These clouds look two-dimensional. I don't like that. First, we're going to fix the overall exposure. We're going to bring that up so we have a nice, well-exposed image. Then we're going to take these highlights, we're going to bring them way down. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us more form in our clouds. It brings in some of the shadows to make them look more three-dimensional and contrasty. Then we're going to bring in the blacks just a little bit and then open up the shadows to give us a little bit more contrast. And then before we go too far, I need to start editing this in black and white. So I'm going to convert this to a black and white image. And now what I can do is work with the black and white mix in my colors here. So I'm going to grab my little chooser here, and I'm going to first fix this sky. These blues are just way too luminescent. So I'm going to bring this down so that they are a little bit punchier. I'm going to bring these guys down here, and that is really going to help us out in terms of contrast. Might have gone a little bit too far. We'll play with these mountains in the background. There's not much we can do there. All right, so now we've got our basic contrast set, and we need to do some fine tuning. One of the things I didn't like when I looked through my eyes was the mountain ranges in the background here. They're in shade, which means that they don't really have much contrast because we need some side light to do that. We didn't have it, so what we'll do is we'll go into post, and we're going to get an adjustment brush, and we'll just take our contrast here, and we'll bump that up a little bit, maybe 25, 30, 35. And we'll just paint a little bit of contrast there. It's going to take the exposure down just a little bit, but it gives us a little bit more punch in the mountains, which I think we need. So I'll paint that on there. That looks pretty good. The other thing we need to do is, because of the tonality changes we made globally, the whites in the city, all these buildings here, they've sort of turned to gray. So I'm going to get a new adjustment brush, and then what I'll do is I'm going to go to whites, and I'm going to increase that to about 40, and then I'll get a nice big brush here, and I'm just going to paint in a little bit more so that my whites are a little bit whiter in the city, and that gives us a little bit more contrast. Sort of painting away. I can even adjust that a little bit more. I really want this to be contrasty. There we go. And then I will close those brushes out. And then the last thing we can do here is we can take our overall adjustments. We'll open up the shadows a little bit. That looks pretty good. Now I need to crop this the way that I want to make it look like a panorama. So I'm going to go to the crop tool. There aren't really any aspect ratios that work for me. I've played with a few. So I'm just going to unlock this, and I will take this down right above this top cloud here. I don't want any of these bushes in here, so I'm going to get rid of all of those, bring it up just to the bottom of this building, and I will accept that. And now this looks like a panorama. I really like that. I can take this overall clarity, bump that up just a hair, and now I've got that image that I had in my mind, a panorama wide angle view. So we can go back here, and what I'll do just so we can compare is I will right click on this, and I'm going to create a virtual copy. Then what I'll do is on this very first virtual copy here, I'm just going to reset it so we go back to what it looked like originally. And take a look at this. This is what we saw with our eyes. This is what we saw out there when we were walking around. But this is what I saw in my mind. This wide angle black and white high contrast image. And the key to visualization and the key to post-production is to be able to see the black and white instead of what you see in front of you, because the two are vastly different. So once you learn how to do that and you can see it when you're shooting your image, you can make sure you take a picture that looks like this, knowing that after some post-production, you're going to get something that looks like this. Well, the next time you go and shoot, I hope you think like Ansel Adams so that you visualize the end result before you take your photos so that you can set your camera up to get the most out of your post-production. Well, before you go, there's something really important I want to remind you about, and that is here in Nepal, this country was rocked by 2 devastating earthquakes very recently. And Adorama has set up a fundraising project to help with the recovery efforts. We've posted links to that fundraising effort so that you can become involved and help with the rebuilding of this country. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next time.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy-to-use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use adoramapix.com.